What's up, guys? This is Shana, and welcome to another episode of the iherng podcast. And today we will answer a question from email. This is from Mr. Law. Hi, iherng. Thanks for taking the time to read this email. Hope you could give some advice on whether should I consider this purchase. Newly completed project at Taman Putra Prima Puchong. Very close to my apartment. Freehold double story. SPA price is 1.03 million. Rebate 10%. Land size is 2275. Built up is 2,500 square feet. Situation 1. Bank 1. Rejected due to the valuation of the property is approximately 800,000, so won't proceed further. The banker says nothing to do with my credit score or financials. The reason was the bank set rules to only approve 80% of properties valued over $1 million. Is it true? The bank 2, value at 1 million but only approve 80%, which is 800,000 loan. Similar case, nothing wrong with my financials. Bank 3, approved 90% but based on the valuation of the property is at 800,000, loan at 700,000. Similar case, nothing is wrong with my financials. Question 1. How would I know whether the price of the property is overpriced or even at this current economy for the property market? Question 2. Should I even consider to pay the shortfall of 100,000 to secure the loan and property? Question 3. These 3 banks are the banks I inquire separately. There are 2 more banks which yet to reply, which is the panel bank of the developer. Would the panel bank just approve my loan due to bias over the developer without considering the market value of the property? Mr. Law. First of all, thank you, Mr. Law, for sending in this email. I think that raises a lot of problems which in the market right now. And hereby, I would like to also address the actual scenario in the property market, especially for new properties, right? A lot of people will think that once they get the keys, price will increase. Those kind of stories happens 8 to 10 years ago. No more such stories already. More as all my auntie uncle tell me. Because it all boils down to valuation. So why this happened? If a property which is newly developed, this is newly developed. So before it was VP, right? This is selling for $1 million. Once I try to sell, and I will rush my very best to sell as much as possible. So when it's about to complete, that's where the deals are the sweetest, because this is when the valuation is still based on whatever that was approved. Once the property is VP'd already, but then it's still not sold, in developer terms we call it completed unsold. Right, so you still have property which are completed already that is still owned by the developer. You can buy them. You will have several problems like this, where it's still $1 million. I give you 10% discount, but just that the banks would not value the property price at 1 million, which is the selling price. There's a mismatch between the selling price and the market price. Why this happened? Due to several reasons. Number 1, there's lack of data for transactions. There's no transactions in the particular location to prove that this property of such kind of details or size or whatsoever specs is worth $1 million. Hence, if you were to go and get a loan, this at most is only 800,000, and I'll give you 90% of it, so you roughly get only 700,000. The second scenario would be all the goodies which means now everybody knows the game, where this one, to me, I can sell 700, but I want to make it more attractive. I want to give 10% discount. I want to give free SPA, free lawyer fee, free stamping, free MOT, free furniture, free kitchen, free this, free that, whatever also free. So I need to sell this at 1 million. But in that true value, it's only 700,000. That's how the banks value them, unless proven otherwise using other property transactions around that area. So for your question 1, whether the price of the property is overpriced, this proves that it's overpriced. It means that it's a price determined by the developer which has no ground, where they cannot reduce further also. Just imagine this, for the previous buyers that has bought from them, 700,000, 800,000, 900,000, now I sell at 1 million, but net is around 900, right? If I were to sell at 700 today, which they can, and most of them are willing to, it will offend the remaining earlier buyers altogether. So this usually happens to smaller developers who don't have a brand. They just chin-chai, put a company name and then just sell, No backup or whatsoever. So it's a different thing in comparison to public listed developers. You can see them, they are stuck already, the whole sales of the apartment, maybe like after 50% completion already, it's still 40% sold, they are in trouble. So you will have a lot of people telling me, Sean, why don't you just tell them, right, to sell at discount lah? It will offend the earlier buyers. Just imagine this, I bought my apartment from you, I lined up for it, I went for balloting and I got it at 500,000. Now, 2 years later, you are selling at 380. What? So coming back, getting a bank valuation is one of the way. It means, right, if you were to ask the bank today, this can also apply to house owners who wants to just like mind, just to play. I want to find out the value of my property. I can ask a banker, hey, if I were to get loan from my bank, right, or if I want to refinance my property, right, approximately how much would it cost? So what they will do, they will ask for your address, right, and they will ask for the details and whether got renovation or not, and they will get a verbal value from their registered partner valuers. These property valuers will evaluate based on cross data, economics, comparison, and things like that. Usually they will use the comparison method that will give you a rather accurate value of your house. That's how valuation from bankers come from. It's also from a registered valuer. The second way is to approach or appoint a registered valuer to value your property. However, valuation costs a lot. A lot of people don't know this, which is like 1 to 2% of your property price. Hence, if you were to do refinancing, that's one of the major costs where I will need to appoint an individual valuer to generate this report telling the bank that, okay, this now property is 1 million. I would like to refinance it at 80% or 70%. Then I will get 700,000 out of it. Easily, it's around 20 over thousand. So an easier way for the normal peeps like you and me, we can go to Bricks, brickz.my, and check out the latest transaction of properties in your area. So you can use this trick to find out. You can just key in your address in their website and find out how much is your property valued at. So let's say, oh, we saw a new property we might want to consider, but we need to somewhat sell this house first in order to cover some of that loan. Totally understand. Very good upgrade, right? So how much? So it's not based on gut feel. It's really based on data that is actually free online. So that somewhat answers question 1 on how you determine a property is overpriced or underpriced in the property market lah. Question 2, should I consider to pay out the shortfall of 100,000? To me, I won't, because think about this. Now your property price is 1 million, right? And bank values it at 800,000, right? So you get a discount from the developer and then you pay up the 10% to get 800,000, meaning you are buying a 1 million product that the market is telling you is 800,000. Won't make sense, right? So immediately on paper, you will lose 200,000. So no, unless it's for sentimental reasons, like, oh, maybe my very close relative is the neighbor, so now they are sandwiched in between number 1, number 2, number 3, right? So number 1 and number 3 are relatives. So now house number 2 is empty. The grandfather wants us to stay all together. Yeah, for those kind of reasons, then no choice lah, right? Bo pian lah. You will buy lot because it's for family reasons, but you are buying an asset that immediately devalues. Indirectly, you are burning 100,000 just like that. So the third question is, would panel banker approve better rates in comparison to those that you appoint yourself? The answer is yes. And most of the time, panel bankers are the banks that provides the bridging loan to the developer. As we mentioned before in one of the episodes, don't know episode number what, right? Before a developer builds a building, they will need to borrow loans from banks to start the construction and things like that. So they will borrow from the bank. Indirectly, these banks will also be the end financiers for the customers who are buying that building as well. So indirectly, by approving loans to customers to acquire this property that is built by this developer who owns them money, it makes a lot of sense. And I guess that's about it, Mr. Law. I answered 3 of your questions, but thank you very much for bringing this up, right? A lot of people panic when they keep complaining about property price drop. It's not really drop, it's just the difference between market price, SPA price, and bank valuation. Different. So maybe I'll just use this opportunity to also explain somewhat. So somehow you will have a person who wants to sell a property at 500,000 when the market is willing to pay at 550. This is somewhat ignorance where I totally have no clue how worthy my property is. So you have opportunists who then manipulate this and they get zero down deals, which means they will get 550,000 loan from the bank at 90% rate, so they pay a bare minimum to own a property that is undervalued. On the other side, you have developers who is telling the whole world this is 1 million, right? But I'm giving 30% discount, so it's in actual 700,000. But on SPA, it's 1 million. But once I get the keys immediately, the market is asking for only 720 because that's the actual value that the market perceives this property to be. And this price checking mechanism, right, has been a big hoo-ha, a big debate in the market right now, where they say that this causes property bubble to happen. In somewhat I agree, in somewhat I don't, because if you really know, like all of you guys, after listening to this podcast, right, you know how to gauge or justify the price of a property already, so you will not buy something that is more expensive than the market perceives. Unfortunately, that happens to people without information or without knowledge. Hence, they think that, oh, it's cool. Then after they walk into the sales gallery, they see all the fancy stuff, get blurred by all the marketings, and then they buy. Then they get into trouble. Yeah, unfortunately, that's that. I think that's about it for this episode. Thank you very much again, Mr. Law, for sending the email. And for those who still have any questions regarding real estate, do just email me at taniherng@gmail.com, or you just DM me on Instagram, iherng, and I will see you on the next one. Ciao.